Good evening and welcome to All Four Wins Football. We are back. We are live, and by popular demand, by which I mean Connor, Room 101 is back after this. Hello, good evening, welcome. Lovely to have you during this hot and amazing international window. We did think we could have a little chat about that, but then Connor started speaking to me about how much he enjoyed Room 101 the last time he was on it, and he wanted to have a go. And he didn't want to point the last time he did it, so I'm hoping he's come up with three rather amazing things. We've got a great panel here, including a newbie who we will introduce in just a second. So let's just run around and say hello to everybody. We'll kick off with Rob. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thank you. Yourself?
Loving life. What could be better to do on a Monday than to be sit here listening to four people moan and then decide which moan is the best? It's going to be fabulous. So there we go. B, lovely to have you back with us. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm all good. Thank you, Barry.
Good. And Rob, you've stolen her question, so she'd usually ask that at the end of that. So I know that's what she does. The polite lady is B. Connor, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, all good. Stressful few weeks, but we're at the end of it now. I'm enjoying. I can't wait for this. This obviously spawned from a show a couple of weeks ago, which now I'm thinking about it. Spoiler alert: international thing. It's not. It might be on someone else's, but it's not on mine. And I wish I had now because people know I do not like internationals in the slightest. So I wish I'd have thought of that. But yes, I'm hoping someone else brings.
That's just because you're a Scotland fan, Connor.
Yeah, we don't win very many games, if any.
So, I did deliberately wear a sort of a navy blue Scotland top just for Connor there. So there you go. And we're going to introduce a brand new person to our panel. It's lovely to have them here. They've got that many moans. They've got a spinny wheel to choose. It's Emily. How you doing? She's muted, bless her. She hasn't learned that bit. It's fine. We'll bring her in.
I've unmuted myself. There we go. I'm good. How are you? Thank you.
Good. I'm fine and very ready to get going. We've got loads of you in the chat, so please do get yourself involved. Let us know what you think, your thoughts. We were hoping to do a YouTube poll for each one of these, but unfortunately YouTube's got some rather archaic rules that only allows you to do one poll per show. So we're going to be emailing YouTube and asking for a little bit of 21st century thinking, because it's a little bit mad that you can only do one per show. But here we are. You are the moral compass. We are about to begin. Room 101. The things that you dislike about women's football, the things that really irk you. I chose Mark Skinner's beard a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this. I don't know why. It's just something about it. I'm not sure why Mark Skinner's beard winds me up so much, but it does. So there we are. That's that one. But it's not to do with me today. It's to do with you four. You four come up with your very, very best. There is going to be 3 rounds. And then at the end, we'll take in your ones from the chat. So make sure you're sending them through. I will star them. And if they're not mentioned, we'll have a little chat about that at the end. We're going to kick off with the biggest moaner I know, which is potentially either Rob or Connor, really, there, isn't it? And I'm debating which road to go down. Like them both. But we're going to kick off with Connor because, it'll take it as it's meant. Connor, what's your first thing that needs to go into Room 101?
Do you know what? I'm going to expose myself from the off and I'm going to say the whole reason why we're doing this show in the first place. What brought this up? What I said on All United WSC a couple of weeks ago. And this is not going to win, but I want to say it anyway because it winds me up. And I'm going to get slaughtered for this because people are going to think that I just hate kids and everything else. It's when the mascots at halftime save or let the kids' penalties go in with such ease. It can be the worst shot going. It'll be a little pea roller on the floor. And Fred the Red at United at LSV just opens his leg, lets it go. No, I'm not having that. Teach them young because otherwise they'll never learn how to score a proper penalty. So I'm not having that. So that'll be my first one. And I don't know, it really bugs people who stand around me at games just laugh at me now because every time that comes up at half time, I always just like, oh, look at that. Like, especially the ones last time, whoever United played last week at LSV a couple of weeks ago. It's literally not even going in. and Fred just kicks it in. I'm just like, what's going on there? So yeah, I'm not having that. So, that would be my one. I know it's not going to win, but it is just a little bugbear. It's not even just a United thing. It's a whole thing. Yeah, Georgia can confirm. There we go. Yeah, so I'm not having that. That would be mine.
There we go. Short, sweet, simple, to the point. Connor does not like mascots being nice to children. That is basically what we're hearing there. We'll go to the second best moaner that I know of them, which is Rob. You told me you've got a triumvirate of terror coming up.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'll start off. I'll start off with one that I know is going to get the most fame. But I'm glad there's another Chelsea fan here because they can back me on this one. I am so bored of people going on about Chelsea spending as if every other team in the league can't spend money. I must have missed this weird FIFA, UEFA directive that only Chelsea can spend money and you can sit and moan about it. In January, okay, Chelsea obviously did break a transfer record. They did it on a player that was worth the money. They did it on a player that's going to elevate any side, and any side in the world would have taken them. The only teams that are allowed to moan about Chelsea spending, I have a category, I have a bit of, a filter wheel. Number one, are you owned by a Premier League / Championship team? If the answer is no, then you can move down the wheel. If the answer is yes, you do not move any further, you do not pass go. Go overboard. We're moaning about a club investing in their players. We're moaning about people investing. Now, again, they go down the wheel. Yeah,
sorry.
Moving on to the next part of the wheel. Has your club themselves been spending money? If the answer is no, then yeah, you can move down to the next part of the wheel. Then you can have a go at Chelsea moaning. But people coming out and saying it, and yeah, people saying Liverpool don't have the money to give their women's team what they need. I saw actually, and I spoke to someone, and they said the reason why they're changing technical director is because they've realised they can invest more. And they've realised that investing in the women's game, shock horror, doesn't have to be expensive. Now, okay, I'm not saying all investment is sensible. Cough, cough, Maya Cato somehow being the third most expensive player of all time for someone who, looks a very average, if not above average WSL player. But in terms of the money, like if teams were skint, I'd understand you complaining. But every single team, if they wanted to, could go out and put put down a £500,000 signing. They just choose not to because the owners don't want to invest.
Okay, very interesting. Holly's she's been saying this a lot on this one. They're stealing all of the team points from Chelsea. So we get that. That's fine. You do you. Absolutely. You go and do that. I'm sure that Emily can explain what the heck is going on there with that particular thing, whilst also giving us her items going to room 101.
Sorry, Barry. Basically, I do a WSL quiz every week, and I think a lot of them have joined. Thank you for joining. And they win prizes on here. And basically, we're trying to find the best club, and at the minute, United are winning. So, yeah, that's what that's about. Mine is slightly related to Connor's, actually. I'm going to start with my weakest one. Bit controversial. I think we should put into room 101, Dargy, keeper. Get it in the bin. If you're not going to say the proper thing, I know we're PG women's football, get it in the bin. That's all I got to say. That's it. Ban it. That's all I got to say on that.
I'm intrigued. Why? Why is it? I feel like I have to dig in a little bit on this one. Why do you feel like we need the traditional, you're the brown stuff?
I feel like obviously it's come about because it's a more family-friendly environment, but just either say the original or don't say anything. It just grates my gears. I don't know why. Do the non-PG version. Yes, Neve.
Definitely getting a little bit of it there. Okay, I will be very much on your side there. All right, that's very interesting. Very interesting. So 3 there so far. B, have you got something that is worse than mascots letting in penalties, moaning about the spending at Chelsea, or not being a little bit rude to a goalkeeper?
I mean, I think so, but we'll see. I've gone with when you go to a club shop and you're trying to buy a shirt and they've got such like a limited selection of women's. There's only like one option or like 2 like names, whereas the men have the whole squad. Like, I find that so annoying. Like, I know maybe the men's are more popular or whatever, but like, let's increase the options a bit, or like make it a little bit more even. I don't know. There's not a lot else to say on it.
Okay, I'm very intrigued by this. I'm going to throw it out to you guys whilst I have a little think, because I'm not used to being in this situation of the one that has to make all of the decisions. Chat, do your thing. Start letting us know who it is you agree with. The reminder, Connor said no more mascots letting in the penalties. Rob said stop whinging about the fact that Chelsea are spending inordinate amounts of money on players. Emily just wants us to shout at goalkeepers with our full whole heart. And B, of course, is not happy at the amount of choice when you go into a club shop. So chat, let me know what you're thinking. But you guys, what do you think of each other's? What would you say is the winner yourself there?
Go on, Rob.
Can I just say on B's point, I think one thing I actually really want to praise, certainly Chelsea, I think Manchester United as well, and I certainly know that Arsenal do, is actually having the full range of players and names available in the store and actually on the mega store and online. And in Chelsea's case, they can actually print them. If you have a player, for example, I saw someone who printed a Lola Brown shirt. Again, to that one person that I saw do that at the Manchester City game, I applaud the faith that you have in young players. Personally, yeah, I think it's a good thing. And I agree with that, yeah. But previously, they only had them available most of the time. This year, the only time I've seen them run out of letters, and it's because I think it's across both squads, is because they ran out of James, the letters for James, because you had to print it, obviously, for Lauren and for Reece. And that was probably just poor planning from the club. But everything else, I've actually seen them, actually have it in stock. And again, Connor, I don't know about United, but certainly before, when I've seen United stuff, it seems to be you can get the majority, if not all, the squad.
Yeah, I think the main issue with United has been like if players have got accents or something like that in their name. I think that's sometimes a bit like Lucia Garcia last season had that. I think that's sometimes an issue, but for the most part, I don't hear it being too much of an issue.
Being fair on that, I think that might be a Prem/WSL directive for when referees write players' names down, because they have to do it non-accented for the system for recording red and yellow cards. No idea why that is the case, but someone's told me that, and it kind of checks out.
I think that's fair. But yeah, on everyone's, I think I've always backed up Rob's point about Chelsea. I always say when people say, "Oh, Chelsea's spending," well, other clubs can do it. So I don't like how Emma's got all her mates in the chat here, all her TikTok view. This is going to be rigged. I'm going to message a few people, I think, and get them in the chat and start trying to back me up. So I'm not having this. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't know if there's any Arsenal fans watching, but certainly Arsenal fans are making it less PG with their chants. They're not afraid to whack a few swear words in there, which I'm not against. I'm all for, to be fair. So I don't know. I don't know who's. Obviously, I want mine to win, but in terms of everyone else's, I'm quite content, I think.
Ladies, I'm intrigued on your thoughts on the ones that have gone round.
I agree with Beatrice on the printing, especially even online. I bought the third shirt and it's still like grates my gears. I wanted it in the pink font and they only had the men's teams to select in like the Champions League font. So they sent it with the WSL printing, and obviously it's £110. Can't get my money back. Bit annoying, but they have updated it now so you can get the women's team as well. But yeah, bit annoying. And Connor's just mean. You cancelled yourself. Rob, 100% agree. You should win.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all good points. With Emily's like the goalkeeper one, I think maybe fair, like either say it or don't. But I think the keeping it PG is also all right at football. With the mascots thing, like I get it, but I mean, especially if they're really little, like let them score. I don't know. Maybe if they're a bit older, like the mascots have to try a bit harder, but I'm not sure. And then with the Chelsea spending, yeah, that's a valid point, to be fair.
B, I'm intrigued. You are a player. What do you think, and you're a defender as well, so you're the last line of defence before the goalkeeper. Do you think the goalkeeper would be more or less annoyed at being told that they are, not very good or that they're dodgy?
I mean, I think I've played in matches where the small number of fans or whatever that are there are using that chant, and I don't think it's going to annoy you. It's kind of expected, if that makes any sense. You're not expecting it, but if it happens, you're not shocked. So I don't think it's ever really gonna bother a keeper that much. But yeah, I mean, if they had to choose between the two, probably the PG version.
Okay. I'm very intrigued. I'm very intrigued by all four of them. I think I've come to a decision. Let me let you know where my thoughts. I feel very Alan Sugar right now. The level of power that feels like it's running through me, Connor. This is not good. You might have unleashed a little bit of a gremlin here, but mascots letting in penalties. I sort of part of me thinks you're the Grinch, but then there's another part of me that remembers playing FIFA against my nephew, and I can remember distinctly my sister just going, "Barry, you've got to stop. You've got to let him win a game. He's getting really frustrated," and me going, "He's got to learn. When it happens and he actually does it, I want him to know that he's done it properly, not that I've just given it to him on a plate." So that resonates with me a little bit, but I do think there's a big difference between beating someone at FIFA in the conservatory or, just trying to ruin a little kid's day who, has probably dreamed about leading a time out like that. So yeah, I'm on the fence with that one. People moaning about spending, just in general, I tend to agree with Rob. I think as well is a reasonable point to make. Let's be clear. There's no point whinging about it. Probably instead of whinging about other clubs doing it, whinge at your club for not doing it, I think would probably be a reasonable sort of point, unless you're like, I don't know, Sproulston, in which case you don't have that level of money, and so therefore whinge away. Whether or not you can choose that team because they're no longer a team. Dodgy keeper. Yeah, I hated the fact when I first went to my first Man United women's game that the song that was out the most was UNITD, United are the team for me, with a knick-knack, paddywhack, give the dog a bone, why don't City go on home? And it never made any sense to me. I didn't like that. Wound me up a little bit, didn't feel the need for it. The very first song I remember singing was a 12-year-old in front of my mum at Southampton, and we weren't calling the referee a very nice thing, I've got to be honest. So it's, and it hasn't done anything terrible to me. But B's one about the club shop, I'm finding it hard to disagree with. It is a little bit mad that you can't walk into a shop and it is just completely dominated by the fellas. I think I'm going to have to give it to B on this occasion. So, yeah, there we go. Room 101, B. I'm going to give you the win on that one for the club shop. Inequality, absolutely. I think we'll give you that one purely because we couldn't just go for Emily based on the chat due to the fact that she has literally bought a fan club. This is that it's brilliant. We love having you here. But I'm gonna have to watch. There's one person who put your name down 4 times, and I think that's vote rigging. You're not even allowed to do that in America. You can do a lot of things in America now. So there we go. That's it. Round 1 is done and down and ready to go. B, you get a win. But these guys have the opportunity to go again. So we'll leave B for now. We're going to start, I think, with Emily on this occasion. So round number 2, what have you got for me?
I've got my second strongest one, which should be banned in the men's game too. It's half and half scarves. I am not walking around with a different club badge on my scarf. And I am judging you if you're wearing one also. I don't know how else to put that. They should just be banned, burned, and never made. Who buys one? That's what I want to know. Who buys one?
I'm very intrigued by this. It's a nice one. Why does it bother you so much? Like, you think about these people that would be walking in, maybe it's a club they've not played before. They're quite intrigued by it. They just want it to show that this was the match that they were at, not to necessarily wear, down to your local B&M.
Yeah, I guess for me, I'm wearing my club and that's it. And that's the way I've been brought up. I could not wear an Arsenal badge, for example. If it was a Chelsea Arsenal Champions League final. I am not buying half and half scarf to commemorate that ever. I don't know, it might just be me, but I feel like that's a very, very common one. What's to do? Needs to go in room 101.
It's interesting. It's a strong start. I've got to be honest. It's a strong start, people. You are definitely going to have to. Oh, I like what Neve's done there. She's tried a little bit of reverse psychology. Love this style. Rob, I think we'll play over to you on this one. Half and half scarves. Can you beat that?
Right. I mean, firstly, I'm just going to say I completely agree 100%. The only other time you like it's even moderately, and by moderately I mean 0.00001% acceptable buy, is if you're a neutral at like an international sporting final with neither of your countries involved. In which case, number one, why are you there? And number two, why are you not buying a better piece of merchandise as a program that's a much better bit of commemorative? Half and half, they can get in the bin. But anyway, the thing about it, this will particularly resonate if you. Like I know you've experienced it before, Connor, but it would particularly resonate if you were at the Chelsea Manchester City game a few weeks ago and in with the Blue Flags group. Overbearing stewards that treat dealing with as if it's like managing the Berlin Wall. So for context of us, there's about 30 of us stood up in a nice seating section for the Manchester City game. We were in a row. Okay, were there that many seats in the row? Probably not. Was there a problem? No. Was anyone being crushed? No. One steward comes over and tells everyone, move down. So we all move down one, and then the steward, as the other people at the other end, are asking another steward, why are they all moving down? So then we all move back, and it's like a bloody conga line. And all we just did was shuffle back and forth for about 5 minutes until the steward gives up. And eventually they said, oh, 2 of you need to come out. So all 2 people did was step into the row in front, standing there for about a minute, and then when the steward left, go back. Like, it's not rocket science stewarding at sporting events. I appreciate while you need it. I'm not saying don't steward them at all, but it's hardly as if, women's football is sort of, the mosh pit of a Metallica concert. It hardly requires that level of, support or that level of, dealing. It's not as though you need riot shields and batons because, for Crystal Palace versus Tottenham. So yeah, I mean, I just happily I will say the stewards at Kings Meadow. I love the head steward at Kings Meadow. She is brilliant because she's basically said is that by now I recognise all of you, and if any of you are sorting it out, I'll just tell the club and get you banned. And other than that, just go have a good time, have some beers, and enjoy the football. And that's all they need to do. There is no need for them to be acting, for them to be acting as if they're some sort of, Stasi Gestapo wannabe.
It's very impressive. Lots of people agree with you there. I'm glad I wasn't the only one to notice this. It was a visible,
I was thinking, Rob's a Metallica mosh pit. I've been in one. I know exactly what that's like.
What had more protection, that or stewarding at Old Trafford for a United women's game? Where did you feel like there was more people pissed at you?
To be fair, I feel safe in a mosh pit.
In a mosh pit, exactly. No, I completely believe that. But stewarding at LXV, you've had more people moan at you about that.
Yeah, Michael is right, by the way. They do.
That's, again, another strong one to go with there. This might not be as easy as round one ended up being. B. What have you got that might possibly be overbearing stewards and half scarves?
I've got something a bit more controversial, and it's not necessarily something that annoys me, but it's something I'd like to put in room 101 anyway. I'd like to remove from the game. I think we should remove heading from women's football. I think football generally, but especially women's football. I did a research project when I was at school. We had to do one, and I chose heading in football and head injuries. And the research suggests it's not good. It's not good, and especially for female footballers, there's a lack of evidence, but there's different potential reasons why, potentially having weaker necks than men, hormones, everything. Just concussions are worse for women. So heading and the risks that come with heading a ball, but even just the head-to-head contact when you're challenging for a header is significantly more dangerous for women than men. And I think it's something that just should be banned generally. It's the only sport that you use your head to control the ball. So I don't know. I think it should be banned generally, but specifically in women's football, which I know might be a bit controversial.
It's a very, very, very interesting shout, B. And I've got to be honest, when you said controversial, not where I thought you were going to go. But, yeah, very interesting. Okay, Connor, You've got 3 heavyweight teams there to try and beat. What you got for me?
Mine's not going to match these. I was thinking this when as you were going through this, like they're all very strong. I mean, none of mine are ridiculously strong. I just wanted to be on the panel because I quite enjoyed listening to it. Everyone else's things on there, but yeah, they're incredible. I did not expect that last one. Like, which one should I go for? Do you know what? I'll just throw this one in there because it is kind of relevant from what I hear. Because I was going to say, I'm going to say it on it. I was going to say Lionesses fans, but I'm not going to say that as my thing to put in there. However, it's got relevance to Lionesses games because I do believe, from what I see at the last game, that my next thing is kind of topical, and that's Mexican waves. Now, the reason why I throw this in there is because, again, people are just going to call me just like whatever. Fair enough, but yeah, they wind me up in some. I think 1K. It kind of is what it is. It's when they keep going round and round and round, especially if you're in a seated section and you have to keep like people in front of you. Just, oh, mate, I just want to watch the game. I'm here to watch the football. I know it's not a concert. You know, keep going round and round. And you can throw loads of other things in there as, oh, I'm getting booed now. Look at this. They really wind me up.
To say on this, haven't we already put this into Room 101?
No,
I'm fairly sure this ended up in Room 101 last time.
It didn't make it.
Because it did not make it.
No. So I'm putting it in again.
Me that made the decision, not me.
So
valid.
I'm just, yeah, no, not for me. I mean, you could call me boring. I want a hostile environment at a game. I want, flares and all sorts in North Stand at LSV. That's what I want. I don't want Mexican waves. I want flares and drums and massive banners. Get all that in there. Not bloody Mexican waves and the rest of it.
In the face by a stray
So yeah, I'm not having that. We did actually see a flare at LSV once. Liverpool fans bought one when they scored against us. Not this season, the season before. When they scored, they threw a flare onto the pitch, and everyone was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" So that was quite something. See, John's with me. But yeah, so that for me, it's not a concert; it's a football game. I just want to watch the game. That's what I'm there for. However, I will say this round is incredibly strong. I don't know which one is going to be this one.
It is incredibly strong, and I do have to say here, except for a Scott, that's a very English complaint. It's because he's English. It's just,
honestly, if that you would not see that going around like Hampden Park or like something. It's just not going to happen.
No, it would not be a Mexican wave. You might see a few Glasgow kisses, but that'd be about it. Okay, well, this is tough. This is tough. People in the chat, you are going to have to let us know what you're thinking. A reminder: we had half and half scarves by Emily. Not a fan of people sporting those. We then had overbearing stewards from Rob. We've had heading, just in general, in the game from B. And then Mexican waves, which is very interesting because on overbearing stewards, he was very happy with Metallica-style mosh pit sides, but not a Mexican wave. Presumably not a fan of the Macarena. So you guys throw that in. But you four, what do you make of each other's? Connor sort of mentioned it being quite strong. Emily, what's standing out there from you? You were first to go. What are you thinking of the other three?
I've got to agree with Connor on the Mexican waves. The amount of times you have to stand up, especially at a Lionesses game, you are right. Bless Basil, trying his best to get it round. Love him to bits, but after like the 5th time, I'm over it. I am over it. Beatrice, the heading one, like for medical reasons, I can get behind, but that's all I've ever known in football. It'd be so weird to get rid of it. But I know they are trialing it in like grassroots, like the boys' teams at the minute. So potentially. And Rob, I forgot yours.
Overbearing stewards.
Oh yeah, I mean, I went to the cup final, Subway Cup final. I think there was more stewards there than there was at a men's game, and I'm thinking, like, I know you need to be here for safety, but nothing's going to kick off. We're at a women's game. It's fine. But I think Connor wins for me, actually.
See, I like that. I will just quickly say on Rob's one, because Rob said I've probably experienced it. I have. And I do like Rob's one in the fact of, especially at away grounds where the men's teams, when they go there, the men's away fans are allowed to stand. Particularly, you get this at Arsenal, at the Emirates. Men's away fans are allowed to stand in that corner. I know it's not safe standing, and I know that's kind of the thing. But men's away fans go there. Yeah, every time we've gone there as a women's team, you're told to sit down, even if you're on the back row, right at the back. And we kind of argued it the last time we were there, like, oh, you wouldn't say that to the men's team fan. Like, oh, we do. But Apparently not. Villa Park is very bad for it as well. Leicester, the King Power, they do it. They're very strict on it there. And I get it. It's not safe standing. So legally, you're not supposed to. But I just don't understand. And it's particularly in grounds when it's avoidable. Spurs is a safe standing section. Again, majority of fans got told to sit down. Villa, they stuck us in a section that is seated when the actual away section is safe standing. They could have put us in that. So that's when it bothers me, because my season ticket at United is in standing. So I prefer standing at games. I don't like sitting. So when we go to away games, you just got Liverpool away was the worst, by the way. Anyone who went to Anfield as a United fan or any away fan, you're cramped in that corner and the seats are so narrow together as well. That was a horrible experience.
This has just become you reviewing away experience.
But my point is, on stewards, you do get some. Villa Park, I don't like singling clubs out, so that's why I'm trying to group a load together. But the worst ones are Villa Park, Arsenal, and Leicester, I found, stewards wise, because they are very, very thingy on it. We nearly got kicked out of Villa, funny enough. Not the one just gone, the one last season, because of this. They were very, very strict on it. It's just but what harm are you doing? I don't get it. For me, there's got to be a little bit of leeway. I think fans would respect stewards and vice versa a lot more if there was a bit of leeway, which you do get, a lot of ground. This isn't a reflection of all stewards. So I agree with Rob's on that one, because we've had that at quite a lot of games.
Rob, what are you two thinking of the others?
Okay, I'll go. With the half and half scarf things, I've actually got a half and half scarf from the Euros final, which I feel like that's quite a cool one to have and to keep as memento from the game. So I do get half and half scarves normally, but I have one and I think it's quite cool. So I don't know. With the stewards one, I get that. It makes sense what you're saying. It's not something I've ever experienced, so I don't have much to add to it. But what you're saying makes sense. And what was the other one? The Mexican wave. The Mexican wave, I think, is quite sweet when you're at a game and there's lots of little kids and maybe they're not too interested in the football, but they're having a good time. But I also think when you've got someone in front of you and they keep trying to get a Mexican wave going and it's not working and it's just just stop and watch the football. It just gets annoying. So yeah, I do get the Mexican wave one, to be fair.
Sorry, Rob, just very quickly before you jump in, I completely forgot Emily's half and half scarf one. We had this at the Etihad earlier in the year when we went there, and there was 3 or 4 stalls at least with Man City and Man United half and half scarves, and I'm looking at them just being firstly, why are you selling them? But 2, who's buying it? I'm with Emily. I would never wear anything with a City badge, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool. There's just no way. It baffles me even more when it's derby games. I kind of get it for others, but derbies, God knows.
Can I just ask a question on the heading thing of what? So if you want to put heading into, are you make it so it literally can't touch the head at all, accidental contact on the head, or if it's a free kick to the opposition? I'm genuinely curious about this because I'm curious to how it would work. Because I'm thinking corners, for instance, that to me kind of seems like you have to then restructure the whole way a corner works, almost with everything being flatter deliveries, because otherwise, everyone can't go up for the corner. It's kind of drilling it in low, which I don't necessarily hate, to be honest, because, having watched Chelsea women try and fail miserably to beat the first player at a corner for about, a season and a half, I'm not against a new idea. But how would it work in practice?
I mean, what they've introduced in the under 12s and below is it's a free kick given if the ball touches your head, whether intentional or accidental, just to try and stamp it out, stop it completely. But
is it the same in the penalty box? Is it still an indirect free kick?
So it would be an indirect free kick, but you take it outside of the box. It's not taken from inside the box.
Oh, okay. That's quite interesting, actually.
Yeah, but it seems to be working in the under 12s, I think, from my experience coaching and refereeing.
Well,
it's really genuinely quite interesting, that one, to be fair.
It's a very, very, very intriguing one. Half and half scarves. I have to. Bless her. She has thrown this at her a few times, so I do need to throw this in here, Emily. Apparently, the half and half scarf is on your wheel, which means you would have to buy a half and half scarf, which invalidates some of what you were saying, I believe.
No, it's to give away. I feel like it's a booby prize, so it's on there as like a troll prize, basically. I'd never keep it myself, but the Euros one that B was on about, I get it. That's fine. I mean, club rivalries, I couldn't do though.
It's a very interesting one. I think half and half scarves I am a little bit stuck on because I understand the reasoning behind it. I get all of that as well. I do also believe in freedom of choice. So I'm struggling a little bit here in terms of, like Emily, very much, not you, the other Emily in the chat, very much enjoying buying them as a commemorative thing. How many scarves do you need though? That is also very take up a lot of space eventually. You know, you've got to have a whole drawer and then a whole wardrobe. When do you stop? When you fill the attic? Like, yeah, interesting. Overbearing stewards is a it's up there, Rob. I've got to be honest. It's very much up there. We've had a few. I've had a few in my lifetime. The ones at Arsenal, the first time were brilliant, where we won 3-2 and Leslie Russo scored in injury time. Absolutely superb. They let us stay behind afterwards. There was people stood on chairs clapping and cheering for about half an hour after the final whistle. And they were sweet. Second time round, you could barely stand up to go to the toilet, let alone anything else. Like, it was more like being in a, in a prison than in a stadium. Reading were another terrible lot that just kept pushing back. And I agree with Connor. There are safety concerns, but it does become very, very interesting. And I think you're right. We don't want to, it's not all stewards, but there are some that allow the power to just sort of get to their heads. Stevenage, bless them, were in the first ever FA Trophy final at the new Wembley. And we were told that the Stevenage fans could sit anywhere. We bought a block booking, so we weren't bothered about who sat where. It was first come, first served. And me and my little group of mates had sat ourselves down. And of course, the stewards came over and started going, "Oh, you're in this person's seat. We're going to have to move." I said, "That's brilliant. Well, I'm in this seat. So who are you going to move from there?" She's in that seat. He's in that seat. And they're in that seat. So that's 5 people you've got to go and move if you want me to get out of my seat. It was quite a thing, because it was a bit like, if you've ever seen The Life of Brian, where they're all shouting, "I'm Brian, no, I'm Brian, oh, I'm Brian, and so's my wife." You'll never have seen that, Connor, but that's a quality film reference right there. It was a bit like that, and so all of a sudden they did just have to disappear. But yeah, that's
just quickly, Barry, you just reminded me of something, like when you said about not all stewards, as Tony's just put in the chat as well. Obviously, this is relevant to me and you. There are good stewards, we'll add, because you remember at Wembley when Charlie decided that she was going to go full on Titanic and stand on the bar when United scored the second. I'm not on the bar in the concourse. I mean on the bar, on the railing at the front that separates you from the block in front of you. That bar I'm on about. And they were fine from what I gather on that one. So there are some alright ones out there. Just maybe not at all.
I mean, to be fair, me stopping her from going head over heels on that one was probably a helpful one. I think she should have fallen off the first time. They'd have been a little bit lax if they'd have let that happen again. Heading, very, very difficult to choose that one. I don't know. There's a massive problem with heading in the game. There really is. There is problems later in life, maybe not so much. Early doors, we've seen that a lot, even with Man United players. So, that one is a very good one, but also it's part of the game. And again, does it sort of come down to choice? I'm not sure. Mexican waves, I do feel like Connor's not been listening to me in general, because every time this got brought up, and it did indeed get brought up the last time we did this show, I don't mind a Mexican wave. I don't. I can't. What I really didn't like, I agreed with one of the Emily here on this one, another Emily, lots of Emily's about tonight. Was the phone torches, like it was some sort of Coldplay concert. They did that at the England under-23s, and it's horrific. I hated that. But Mexican waves, I don't mind them. Again, you don't have to do it. Nobody's forcing you to. They might boo you if you don't. And again, that same FA Trophy final against Kidderminster, Kiddie were winning, and they did this Mexican wave that just stopped with the Stevenage fans, like, "No, we're not joining you in your jollity, you're winning." And then, of course, we went on to win in like the last minutes of the game. So we started doing a Mexican wave, which they wouldn't then follow on. So there was a nice bit of banter there going on with that. So I've got to be honest, Rob, I think you've won this one. I can't argue. Overbearing stewards is a bane on the game, and absolutely, I think we need to have more fair stewarding. So yeah, there we go. That's going into room 101. Overbearing stewards. There, I've done it. No take backs. There we go. All right. Number 3. I think we're going to start with. Let's start with B.
Okay, this one's a bit different, but something that annoys me so much as a player, I guess, but it's still women's football. When you turn up to a match and like an away game, you've turned up and in the change rooms, there are no sanitary bins in the toilets. Like, I don't understand, like, who hasn't, like, it's not been thought through. Like, no one has stopped to think about this. Like, sometimes you'll find like a normal bin, but that's just kind of disgusting. Like a proper sanitary bin in the toilet. Like, why has it not been thought through, like, at all? I don't know. I find it so annoying. It just gets to an awkward situation when people are trying to flush it down the toilet and it's just not working. And then that's just so much worse. Like, just buy a bin.
Where was this? I've got the main crux of it there, but the where was there no bins?
In the toilets.
Just in general.
Yeah. Like, there have been loads of clubs I've been to where they've turned up and they've not had bins.
Okay, got ya. It's a good choice. Interesting one to start with. Let's go with Connor. You can go second.
I'm not going to be able to match up to any of these, I don't think. Because I've got 2 here and I don't know which one to. I don't know. This is more going to be a personal thing, I think, because there was another one that I wanted to go for, but it's kind of. Oh, I'm really torn here. Do you know what? No, I will go for. I went for this last time, so I'm going to go for it again. I apologize, I'm repeating myself. For those of you who watched this a year ago, I brought this up then, and I'm going to bring it up again now. And this mainly is, I know this happens in the men's game as well, but it does seem to be more women's football based purely because of the grounds, and that's some of the parking at grounds is absolutely horrendous. Man United go to West Ham in a couple of weeks, and when I say that it's one of the worst grounds to park at, it is horrendous. And there's quite a few grounds like that. Some are not too bad, especially some of the bigger grounds. But some of them are literally horrendous, and you cannot get anywhere near. Or you just do what I do and just book someone's driveway afternoon, which can get a bit expensive, especially those in London. Oh my life! Some of those like to charge a fortune. £55 it was for Spurs. They tried to quote right there. Not having that. But yeah, so it's not really. It just annoys me. Like when I look at grounds, park is the first thing I look at, and it's just like some grounds are just really, really bad to get to, and I think maybe that does put some fans off. I don't know. When you're looking at some of these grounds, like I said, it's not necessarily a problem with some of the big grounds because you can get public transport, stuff like that. But some of these smaller ones that are at LSV, you can use United as a prime example. Unless you drive, there is not really any other way of getting there. United do put on the shuttle bus now from Old Trafford and so on, so there are other ways now. But before that, unless you drove, I mean, you can drive, you can get public transport to around the area, and then you've got a long walk after that, to get there. So, yeah, I think that's maybe one for me.
It's a very, very good shout. I will reserve my judgment as ever. That's, again, 2 very strong ones. Let's go with Emily. What have you got for us?
Can we put people in room 101?
People? I'll be trying to put Connor in room 101.
Are you nominating Connor? Because if so, I think this round's already done.
Yeah, I was going to cancel him because he doesn't like mascots shooting and that. No, it's not Connor. Can I?
It's up to you.
Okay. This is controversial. I mean, not really, but let's put Joey Barton in room 101. Well, or I can clarify and say ex-male players that monetize the women's game through hate. If we can't go with Joey, because I'm sick of him putting his opinion in when it's just not valid. Like, if you don't like the women's game, turn it off. Don't watch it. Don't comment on it. Don't make money out of it. Jog on. Go watch the games you want to watch and leave us alone. That's it. Joey Barton.
Rob, you are going to have like, the 91st minute winner potentially here, because that is it's an incredibly strong round. 3 brilliant goals been scored here, and no mascots in sight to let them in. So, what do you reckon about this one? What's your winner?
I mean, I'm gonna go for like I'm more want to rant about than it, not necessarily trying to win, but more to rant about it. Inconsistent refereeing when it comes to players on the counter attack not being booked. Defensive midfielders in the Premier League, if they pull a player back on a counter or when it's on a break, clear yellow. In the WSL, it's a roulette wheel. Do you get booked? Do you get a talking to? Do you somehow get the free kick given in your favour because the player is deemed to have dived? This happened a few weeks ago. Was one of the I think it was Chelsea Crystal Palace in the FA Cup. Lauren James breaking through and getting away, and the defender pulled her back. James went down because she was pulled back, and she was booked for diving. And they booked Lauren James for diving, and the defender couldn't believe it. She thought she'd been booked and was asking the referee, have I been booked? Now, Colin knows that I've frequently ranted about this, but in general, like, it's one of the things, it does seem to be a bit of a thing in the WSL, especially certain players have a leeway of a number of, have a number of times, referees in general, I don't like in the WSL. You must be new here if you think I'm going to get involved in conspiracy, that would be biased. But certain players, for instance, if you're a defensive midfielder, you seem to get 10 lives in the WSL, and you get, pull player back whenever you want. But if you're the striker and you, heaven forbid, you do the exact same foul, you will always get booked for it. Just book every single player that does it, and hey presto, it will stop happening. You might give more red cards, you might get silly amounts of players, but then players will stop doing it. And if you do it consistently over a season, guess what? They will learn.
Wow, this is definitely the absolute epitome of saving the best till last. Before you outdone yourselves here, I'm going to find this one tricky. So whilst I am considering all possible outcomes of this particular round, I would like to know what the chat thinks. Who would you choose? But I'm also intrigued about what you guys think. B, you kicked off. What are your thoughts? Parking, Joey Barton, inconsistent refereeing. What's your thoughts on those?
I mean, they're all really good ones. With the inconsistent refereeing, so I'm a referee myself, and I agree the refereeing in women's football isn't great. And I actually found out the other day I'm only, as like the lowest level of referee is what I am, and I'm only allowed to referee like youth boys football, but I can do like regional women's football with the same qualification. Like the qualifications for women's football is just so
that's bonkers its own right.
Sorry, is that the tier 5 one when you say regional?
I think so. I think I'm a level 5 women's and a level 7 men's, and I think level 7 men's means youth, and that means regional, which is insane. So, like, I fully agree with the refereeing. Then women's football, they need to change that. It needs to be more highly qualified the higher you get up. Like, why is that not even in itself? Like, why is the qualification different for different the men's and women's? And then I don't know with the other ones. I don't know who Joey Barton is.
Trust me. That's trust me. Honestly, that your life is better, all the better for not knowing who the twat is.
Okay. So, but I just can't comment on that one then because I have no idea. And then parking, nightmare for football, all round nightmare.
Well, I've said before, B's the football player on this panel, and that might well be an assist for Rob there. Rob, your thoughts on, to give him his real name, Joey Barton, parking, and no sanitary bins, like anywhere around football.
Like Barton and all the grifters, that not just the grift on this, that grift on any kind of women's sport because they think it's smart or they've seen the money, just get in the bin in general. Like, it's not as if you're forced to engage with this content. It's not like Big Brother where you're sat in a room and, Clockwork Orange style, forced to sit and watch repeated clips of the WSL. Just turn the channel, turn it off. And as for, again, another thing, I nearly got into the list. People that complain about, saying, oh, I saw, a match was on, and I thought it was the men's team playing, and then it was actually the women's team. You can't be that much of a fan of football or indeed understand how football works. If, for example, you saw Chelsea play at lunchtime and then magically thought they were playing the next day. But anyway, that's by the by. Parking. See, I'm very much a user of public transport when I go to WSL games now for this exact reason. So that is important. And again, I think the point exactly been again that a general absolute lack of the sort of facilities and things. To be honest, I'd give it to that because it shows how far we've got to come. That's not a difficult requirement. You're not talking about something that's particularly, complex or something that is particularly, hard to do. And if people aren't doing that, then, realistically, it's probably something, again, the FA should have that at some grassroots level, even, above grassroots level. They should be having that as some sort of directive. I know they've got the directives of what you have and haven't got to do. That's the sort of thing that should be in there. Because it's not, it's not an expensive requirement. It's not asking to put VAR in for crying out loud. It's what I know, for example, I deal with it at work. I deal with our subscriptions and stuff like that. And I know that's one of our subscriptions we have. And it's not an expensive cost.
There we go, Connor.
Yeah, I think Beatrice is probably the in terms of the if we're looking at a serious one, that probably is the one that wins. I agree. It's between Beatrice and Emily's, to be honest. On this one, I think Emily's one's an interesting one. Especially it's not just him. I'm not going to name him, to be honest, but it's not just him. Other people, and I think Emily said actually in terms of people that anyone that monetizes that or kind of it just uses it as a stick to grind, and not just people in the media, just people on social media in general. I would throw under that kind of bracket as well. Obviously Barry, you and I'm Rob would have seen obviously the it's past Watcher and it's past Santa Claus, the shit I got, about a month or so ago, off that certain section of social media, and that was all brought on by people, I guess, in the media as well that are not fans of women's football for whatever reason. So I think that's a good one as well because, like you said, especially if you're monetizing it as well, that's just ridiculous. So I think it's between those two, to be honest. Rob's making a good point about referees, but I agree, Rob, as well. There's not a conspiracy. I see this a lot that they're favouring one team or it evens out over a season. Every team will get a bad decision against them in a game that will cost them or whatever else, and then it just evens out because everyone gets them. So there's no conspiracy or anything like that. It's just the level that we've got. And I believe, did I see correctly as well that England don't have any refs go into the Women's Euros this summer? Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Only big nations not to have.
We've only got, I think, two. I think it's only Shan Massey Ellis and Jared Gillett are going as VAR officials. And that's because they're two of the only trained VAR officials that actually have the necessary qualifications to go and do it. So that's not, that's not a demonstration of their ability. It's more of a case of that, you hit the criteria, so we have to select you.
So I think that's it. So that's obviously an important one as well. Like George saying, no WSL refs can be selected. I find with WSL refs as well, and this is not a slight one because I'd take my hat to any ref because there's no chance I could do it. With kind of the stick they get as well. But I think the refs in the WSL are very fan swayed. I find. I think in grounds where it can be a bit loud and a bit I think can be very swayed on decisions in that respect. Which happens in men's as well. It doesn't, but I don't think it's as frequent as maybe you will see in women's as well.
Very interesting, Emily. Obviously, you threw in a screamer there, but what do you think of the other three?
I've got to relate with B. I played football back in the day, even worse back then. That's like 15 years ago. There is no bins. It's horrible. You're like, where do I put this? I can't take it with me. Horrendous. So that was a very, very good one. I forgot the other two already. What were they? Referees. Again, I was a qualified ref, and it is a very, very difficult job. But there are too many mistakes. Do we need VAR? Is that another thing? I don't know. It's a whole different subject, and I forgot the last one. Sorry. Parking. See, a lot of my friends stress about it. I'm one of these people that I'll drive up and I'll find a spot. But I do agree that it's costing more to park than the ticket. So I'd rather be putting it into the women's game than parking, but it's one of them. So, I think B wins for me.
Especially at your ground, Kingsmeadow. That is the worst ground in the WSL to get to.
I won't drive to London, to be fair.
That is horrendous because you're not allowed to park on the ground either, so you can't go there. And it's all housing nearby, which is all restricted by whatever the London things are. So you can't park there either. So unless you get public transport, you literally can't get there. by driving, unless you book someone's drive, which, like I said, they whack the prices right up and you end up paying, I think, £30 I paid last time to park on someone's drive about nearly a mile away from the ground.
Okay, very interesting. We are going to have to come to a decision. Emily, before I start, what level are you allowed to referee at?
I didn't do it for very long. I was literally the bottom tier, but I will say that I was 14 when I did it, and that's like the earliest age you could do it. And the first game they put me to like referee was under 16 boys. And then again, back then that was like, oh my God, there's a girl that likes football. Oh my God, there's a girl referee. And I just got a lot of stick for it. So I do think there's work to be done at the lower levels. And maybe it's changed now. But I had to quit. I was getting too much abuse as a woman being a ref.
Yeah, the refereeing rules have changed now. Up until the age of 16, you can't referee anyone older than you. You can only do younger.
That's good. That needed to happen. So
Surely he's a ref though, but you could have just sent them all off.
I was tempted. I would now.
Damn right, me too. Okay, we'll start with the refs. Yes, they're inconsistent. I can't lie. Having seen Nikita Paris undergo grievous bodily harm twice in the Chelsea penalty box and not seeing anything being given, I'm here for inconsistent refereeing. I feel like it's a fair shout. And it's also very interesting that we've got no refs going to the World Cup when you consider that it appears the parameters for being able to referee in the WSL is to complete the course that Beatrice did and watch Match of the Day 5 times. Clearly appears to be what they're asking for. If you can referee that level with the kids course, that's quite scary, actually. So yeah, it does answer the question, I think, on that one. So inconsistent refereeing is a very good one. Parking, I've got to be honest, when I was watching back over the video from last year, that is probably the best one I thought that didn't get a win, because actually everywhere you go now, parking really is atrocious. We've got St Albans at the weekend, and I'm already thinking, should I just jump in with the kit man up in his van on that one? Because it's not the easiest place to park. It's always street parking, or you've got to try and sweet talk your way in to the 7 possible parking spaces that they might have around the back. So yeah, parking is a very good one. The cost, of course, is outrageous. I can distinctly remember going to watch Stevenage play, and no, it wasn't. It was a Man United game, and it was at the Hive, and it cost more to park than it did for the ticket to go in, which is bonkers. Like, you can park your car for 3 hours for £7, but to watch the match, only 5. How's that a possibility? So that was very weird. Having had no personal experience of not having a sanitary bin, I'm gonna ask you a question. It might seem a little bit glib, but I would imagine that's got to be the equivalent of going for number 2 and then realising there's no toilet roll. You're stuck. What do you do? It's a really horrible situation, I would imagine, to be in. And it does make me wonder, because obviously working within the game, you never think, do we need to go and check the toilets to make sure these things are set up and ready for the girls and they've got these things available? So I'm going to have a word with the kit man about that one to make sure that these sorts of things are available, because actually that is a really, really good and sensible point. Emily, of course, has gone for Joey Barton. I've got to be honest, it's the equivalent of Beckham from the halfway line, that, isn't it? How can you not put Joey Barton into room 101? The only problem is he wouldn't stay there. It's a really tricky one, because I've just said I advocate for choice. Freedom of speech is a thing, even if you are a complete and utter moron. But I don't actually know where to go with this one. I don't actually know where to go.
Can I just make a point on the freedom of speech point?
Please do.
Freedom of speech gives you the right to say stuff. It does not, however, give you the right to not be, challenged on what you say, and also doesn't absolve you of consequences of your actions. Freedom of speech means you can say it. It doesn't mean you don't get told that you're a complete, utter...
Oh, he's muted himself. Very nice. Well done there. Anybody can lip read? Nailed it. Emily's telling me to just do both. which feels like I don't feel like Frank Skinner would do that. This is a really tricky one. And I actually, what would you do, Connor?
I would be going Emily's purely because I don't know. I'm with you. It is between those two. Yeah, I would probably sign more towards Emily's because I've obviously got more experience of that. But that's just such a biased guy speaking answer. I don't know. I'd be happy with either. So yeah, that's my 2 penny. That's probably not out at all.
No, it hasn't helped at all.
Has the chat got an answer?
Yeah, I mean the chat mostly went for Emily. I've got to be honest. The minute she said Joey Barton, it won. And frankly, honestly, is this not half of the problem? People are more worried about. Let's be honest. You can block Joey Barton. If there's nowhere to put your sanitary pad, you can block the toilet. So I'm going to have to go for the sanitary. I think I've got to. I think it's the right thing to do. It's about women's football. It's about there being the right things to happen, and you have the ability to get rid of them. Yeah, I'm going to have to go with that. That is so incredibly close that it is ridiculous. I need you to know that in my heart, I want to put Joey Barton in there. I want to. But in my head, that's the right thing to do. That's the right winner. I'm trying to be fair. I'm a primary school teacher. I have experience in this. I understand some of you are going to be upset. We can talk about it at a break time. Not a problem. So there we go. Well done. Once again, B1-2 there. That's very good. I'm very impressed. Well done. We're going to run through, guys, for our final round, just what some of the other people have put. And I just wanted to throw out a few things. First of all, this one happened right at the very beginning. I did mean to bring it up earlier, but sorry to hear you've not been feeling too great, Emily. She's always in our chat and always involved, but really pleased that you've enjoyed being around here as well, and that we've helped to put a little smile on your face. So that's good news. Right, the first thing that the chat wanted to put in there, we will vote as a foursome or a fivesome in this case on these particular things. So Uncle Montana wants to put the April international break in there. Anyone agree or disagree strongly on that in the panel?
All I've got to say is they've binned it for the men. There you go. Binned it for the women. It's ridiculous. I've tweeted it yesterday. It's absolutely ridiculous. We're 5 games away from the end of the season. Have it afterwards. These are massive games, especially for Chelsea and Arsenal. Champions League, semi-finals, FA Cup, title race running. It's mental to me. I know they've got to be played, but now, really? 4 or 5 games to the end of the season? It's ridiculous.
That April international break has just single-handedly lost Chelsea the Champions League, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
In regards to the injuries and stuff like that, because I don't think they're quite as bad as some is being reported, but I'm not going to get into that now. I will say that I do agree in that regard, though. I will say I think it's ridiculous that you've had it now. I think, again, I completely agree on the Aggie Beaver Jones point. And I do think, I could understand if it was a 1-game international break, but then that seems pointless in its own right. And yeah, I almost think the players almost needed the rest. And to be honest, I kind of feel that unless you're in leagues where you've got more, also the thing is, certain leagues like the Spanish League and stuff, they will schedule fixtures around what teams request and allow them to postpone it to accommodate them for European fixtures. France do the same. England won't. And in terms of how many players Chelsea did lost during this international break, I mean, 6 of them at this moment in time have returned to Cobham from injury. So.
Any danger it might not just be the Champions League they've lost? I'm ever so sorry on a neutral show like this to throw that in there. But as there's no All for United WFC show, I feel like it's my duty to turn around to Connor and just say, I told you, it's a possibility still there. Let's just throw that one in there. B, anything you want to add on April internationals?
I mean, there's not much else to say. I agree. I think it's silly to have one this close. The amount of games that the players, and especially the international ones, play is ridiculous. They need a bit more rest. They need some time off. And throwing an extra international break now seems silly.
Okay, very good. The winter break, something I've never really liked. I've got to be honest. The winter break, I hate the fact that one of my defining memories of being a football fan in general are like the Boxing Day and New Year's Day fixtures. So why do we have a winter break? Anyone feel particularly strongly about the winter break? I mean, B, you're a player. Throw us in with this one. Do you actually like the fact that you get a few weeks off around the festive period?
Yeah, as a player, I love the winter break. I think at that point in the season, I think just before the winter break, you're starting to hit burnout. Like you're maybe not enjoying the football because you're exhausted. Like without that winter break, I think the season gets so long. Like even now at this point in the season, having had the winter break, like I'm struggling again and almost ready for the season to be over, just so I can get some rest. Like I think the winter break's so crucial as a player.
Okay. Anyone want to argue with the player? No, good choice. Well done. Okay, let's go with what Michael was going to say there. Google women's football results, and it's always out of date.
I haven't found this recently. You know, I follow Worcester City women. They're tier 4, and I've never found, like, it's always there within an hour, you know, on Google and everything else. So I've not personally found that. Not in the English tiers anyway. It might be further down the pyramid for sure. On that though, on Google women's football results, what is it? The FA full-time website or whatever. For whatever, this might be just a me thing. It doesn't seem to work properly on Google Chrome, is what I've found. It doesn't like that search browser for whatever reason for me, and I have to switch to Mozilla Firefox just to go on that website. That might be just a me thing. I don't know. It might be just the settings I've got. But that's
I can confirm it works absolutely fine on my Google Chrome.
There we go. It just doesn't like me. It just doesn't like me looking at the results.
It's heard your view of mascots and thought we don't want that level of inclusivity here.
I can also confirm full time is not the greatest of websites. It does have moments where it throws a little bit of a fit. Go on, Emily.
I think on that, it's the fact that you have to write Chelsea women's. Like, it should just know my algorithm and think she's not looking at the men's team. She don't care. And I know they've got the little toggle now, but they should just know I'm looking for the women's. It's annoying. Obviously, the first thing that comes up is the men's. You got to expect it, but yeah.
Okay, so a few other people not necessarily seeing that as a problem, but there we go. Okay. The next one is from Nick. He says, my football hate is people arriving late to their seats and making me stand up again and again. Obviously, this is only a problem if it's in with the seats. Anybody want to agree or disagree with Nick?
Can I give a handy hint to Nick, a handy life hack? Just don't stand up. I've just started doing that now. I'm just making them force their way past me. They've arrived late, so they can temple run, inconvenience themselves to get through.
Okay, interesting. Anybody else anything to throw in on that one? No. Okay. I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of reasons why people could be late, isn't there? But yes, what else we got here? Woso fans on the internet that want everyone to care more about the Lionesses than anything else.
Yes, that wins.
That wins.
Yeah, no. It's there is still a big and I get it. It's the most marketed team, certainly obviously around here at the moment. I get that. But yeah, there's a massive bias still. And there's so many other players and teams, and do you know what? I'm going there, and I said that and Rob will like this because it's two players obviously that we rave about as well. But I think if you look at the coverage, the likes of Erin Cuthbert and Caroline Weir get, for example, they are elite, top level players. I think if they play for England, they get a lot more coverage than they currently get. For me, both of them start for England, in my opinion. But because they're in a nation like Scotland that's just not very good, they don't get the same coverage and plaudits. I don't think they get enough, to be honest. And I hate saying that about Chelsea players and ex-City players, but there we go. But that's the two. There's plenty of other players. There's players in Germany and Italy and all kinds of places that I could say the same for. That I think are much more worthy of getting it. But yeah, so I really agree with that one. And Rob was nodding along with me there, so I've gained the follower with that one.
I mean, I nodded along on the Weir and Cup Up points. You know what my thoughts on that. I will say one thing that is really annoying and I appreciate it is, UK-based coverage, so I do understand it, is whenever there are Lioness games and all you get coverage, you don't get anything about any of the other team or players, key players on the other team, apart from if they happen to play for a WSL club, in which case they will mention they play for the WSL club. But you don't get anything, you don't get any interesting sort of tactical nuance or sort of content. Whereas, for example, I watch quite a lot of the men's Bundesliga and also Frauen Bundesliga. And one thing I will say, the men's Bundesliga content is amazing for actually giving you information about players and about relevant, useful information that's interesting stuff about players, and not necessarily the star player on the team. They've got, sort of knowledge of everyone.
Yeah, very, very true points made there. Anybody else got anything to add on that one?
I'm just going to say from a content creator point of view, if I put up a Chelsea video, it like an England video would do 5 times better just because it's England. And I know obviously it's got a broader array of fans and stuff, but yeah, there is a bias. And if you want to hit the algorithms, then it is a good thing.
Very true. Very true. B, anything from you?
I mean, yeah, not a lot to add, to be honest. Everything's been said.
Okay, fair enough. Then we won't. Let's move on. A couple of points that were brought up earlier on. Michael said, I'd be shocked if Barry had a large shoe collection, especially women's shoes. I can confirm I hate shoes. I have about 3 pairs. I have a smart pair. I have trainers, and I have the shoes that I wear generally. And I don't understand people that feel like they need like a Friday pair of shoes or, any of the like Crocs. Exactly. Just have a pair of shoes, replace them when they die. That's very much where I would go with that one, regardless of what the shoes are. So there we go. It has been a Barry dictatorship. The people did want Mexican waves in 101. I can only apologise for that. But what can I say? It's tough. It is what it is, unfortunately, on that one. And Emily said she had a huge scarf and shoes collection. The only thing I have more of is clothes. I just wondered whether or not you would have a half and half shoes collection. So, like, whether you would have on one foot Crocs and on the other half, I don't know, a Doc Martens boot or something. Just intrigued as to how that would work. Goalkeeper's feigning injury is the next one that they've thrown in there for the tactical timeouts. Anybody have anything to add on that?
I'm here for it. Do you know when you are 3-0 up against City and they've been holding the ball the whole first half until you've scored 3 goals, and then Hannah Hampton's just there for 2 minutes? I'm here for it. Keep it in the game.
I don't mind the goalkeeper feigning injury if you stop players going and getting instruction and stop them all leaving the pitch. Like, if goalkeepers want to go down and F about and get, treatment because they magically have injured their finger, despite the fact the ball's not been near them for the last 10 minutes, go right ahead. But what I don't get is, for some reason now, a goalkeeper timeout has become, it's like in sort of the NBA, it's effectively the equivalent of going for a timeout and changing tactics. And it shouldn't be used as a momentum thing. I kind of agree with my view on it, and someone actually said this on it, and it'd be really interesting, is that if the keeper genuinely needs treatment, outfield player has to go in goal, and you go down to 10. Because as someone said, if it was any other player being injured, they'd have to go off the pitch for 30 seconds. There's no reason you shouldn't do that. I'd make it a minute for the goalkeeper, and then that makes it really, you've actually got to pick and choose when you do these timeouts. Because if you do it and say you're defending a corner, and then you go down and you do it, because I've seen teams do this, try and have a goalkeeper timeout at a corner, disrupt momentum, get the players back across, have a drink under a heavy bit of pressure. You then have to, let's say put, Millie Bright in goal for the next corner. You're losing a key player in the attacking position or the defensive position, and you'll no longer got a goalkeeper in there. So the opposition team have a much better incentive to try and go forward and score. And then you suddenly think twice about that magical hand injury. And obviously, if the player is injured, you're subbing them off anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I think I agree with Robin. So the only way is because you can't tell whether a player is actually injured or not. So the only way I think of stopping it is stopping players going to the touchline.
Can I just say, Anne-Catherine Berger, as the pioneer, does deserve credit as the pioneer of this. The time wasting against, I think, was it United in that FA Cup final, was damn near legendary. And, I have to give it credit for that. And also, I think, was it Hannah Hampton's time wasting in Aston Villa versus Chelsea in the Sam Kerr goal in added time? I have never been so angry before. Even though Chelsea won, I just came away from that game with a feeling of anger towards Southampton for the fact she managed to waste. I think we about 13 minutes of the game just by laying on the ball. It was inspiringly, obnoxious.
Or you stop the clock, like they do in other sports, rugby or whatever. Like, just
if there's another solution.
Just stop the
another
clock,
solution,
and then it will.
I mean, I personally love it. I think it's such an interesting tactical side of the game from like a playing perspective. I've played in teams where we've gone into the game with the target of the ball only being in play for 20 minutes in the first half. Like, that's the whole aim. That's all we're aiming to do. The ball's only going to be in play for 20 minutes. Just like non-stop time wasting. And I think it's a really interesting, like, tactical point of view of the game and something that adds like another dimension to it.
Can I ask your favourite way to time waste? Like, because there's got to be, is it shoelaces, the throw-in option where players put the ball down, go to take the throw-in, have a little stroll up the line, get told to go back. Is this the right place? There's definitely a favourite way to time waste.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give away everything, but I love when we've just scored a goal. I find that there's a lot of like transition in women's football. If one team scores, the other team's quite likely to come back and score straight away, or especially at the level I'm playing at. So I will always go down and tie my shoelaces in the opposition's half because they literally can't start the game again. Like, they just can't. So I'll always do that just to slow everything down.
That's just that's handy, to be honest.
Very good, very good. And there won't be any refs watching, so you're all good. No problems there at all. Okay, very interesting. We like those. Connor, Michael has asked for Emily to be in as the Chelsea expert for the preview that you do on the sister channel, just so you know. So just throw that one in there. 2 more to go. Dusky, an international viewer, is all for women's football, and we do claim to be worldwide. To point this out, by the way, we had a Nigerian women's football league team follow us today, which was really quite cool. So I've got my head round having a look at some of the leagues they've got going on around there. So thank you to them for doing that as well. But Dusky says she hates how hard it is to watch in Nations League games, have to do VPNs and dodgy YouTube streams all the time. Anyone got anything to add on that? I know that's not something we necessarily have to worry about over here, but
I think it's still an issue here. Trying to find the Canada game the other night. You can't unless you pay for Canadian TV. There was literally no other way. VPN's not working. Literally nothing was working, so there was no way of watching it. So I understand it does still happen the other way, but yeah, it's not as big of an issue, I think, our way than it is trying to watch games every year. I don't think.
Okay, hard to empathise on that one. And the last one is this one here, and this maybe, for being myself, might be a little bit more close to home. But I hate how teams like Norwich don't get their own built stadiums and have to borrow other pitches or stadiums as their home ground. Now, very interesting point. Norwich play at the Nest. The Nest is a very interesting place. It's a number of AstroTurfs and places that you can play. And there is the one main bit where you walk through a cafe and you're there. And it is one of the weirdest stadiums I've ever seen in my life, because you walk in and there's really only one side you can start and you can get behind the goal as well. But that's your lot. You can't get round behind where the dugouts are. And the side where you walk in, first of all, has got 2 rows tops of chairs just going to one side, which must give the seating capacity of about 50, maybe 100, if there's 2. So it's a very, very weird stadium. But absolutely, this is a very good point. Not a lot of teams using their home grounds at lower levels. So anyone have anything to say on that one?
I think it's a really interesting point, and I was actually in a conference meeting thing with the I think Brighton director, and he was talking about, because they're looking at building a women's stadium for Brighton, and I think the point that he brought up that I thought was the most interesting was he said, like, when they are sharing with a men's team or whatever, the stadiums are even set up to like sell foods and drinks targeted at a male audience, like even from something like as small as that, like they're set up to sell pints and pies and stuff, which when you go to a women's match, maybe not seeing someone carrying like 5 pints of beers like back to their friends. Like, I think everything in a stadium has been designed for a male fan, and it's not necessarily always been thought through. Like, my experience of going to even like WSL stadiums, there aren't enough women's toilets for the amount of like women who are turning up to the game, so the queues are always ridiculous. Like, it's just small stuff like that. I think if you were designing a women's stadium, it would be a better experience for a fan, a player, just all the women who turn up at the game. I think it would just be a lot smoother, because I feel like football stadiums generally have been built for men and male fans.
That's definitely the case. I think. Do you remember Barry Charlie was saying the story on All for United when we played PSG away, and obviously that was in the main stadium. Even then, they didn't actually open the women's toilets because they didn't expect that many going, so they had to lead them through the men's. They had to create like some separate system in the men's toilets because the women's weren't even open at that time, because there was only, I don't know how many women were there at that point. But yeah, so that's ridiculously crazy on that one. But I can see both sides, because you're talking about, I don't know what tier Norwich are in, but playing at the main ground, that's going to cost an absolute fortune to open a ground like that for maybe, I don't know what attendance they're going to get down there either. So I can see both sides, because I'm a United fan who prefers the games at LSV than I do at Old Trafford, because I would rather get 10,000 at LSV than 10,000 at Old Trafford. But I get it from a player's point of view. Every player I've ever interviewed prefers playing at Old Trafford, so or like the main stadium. So I can see both sides. But me as a fan, I prefer the smaller ones or whatever. And not every club's specific ground is brilliant. The Academy ground, or the Joey Stadium, is now called a City. It's a brilliant complex. The stadium itself is not great. So I think it depends how you do it.
Well, there you go. I'm going to get you four to register your choices, and we're going to decide which of those 8 things goes into room 101. So I'll remind you of your choices: April internationals, the winter break, Googling women's football scores and being out of date, late arrivers, WOFO fans thinking the Lionesses are the greatest thing since sliced bread, goalkeepers feigning injuries for tactical reasons, VPNs and streams that are a bit hard to get into, and clubs not being able to play at their main stadiums.
I mean, mine's an easy pick, the one about the Lionesses.
Okay.
any opportunity I get, anyone would think you're not a Lionesses fan, Connor. Any opportunity I get. So there we go. That would be nice.
Rob?
I don't know. They've all got real merits to them.
I didn't put that one up.
Actually, I'm going to go. To be fair, the point about standing up, it does irritate me that you've got such a long time before. Obviously, if you get stuck at the turnstiles because of operational capacity issues and not enough being open, that sort of thing. But people just getting in late. Obviously, the first couple of minutes, if it's in the first 2 minutes or something, because you're finishing your beer, or you've been in the loo and you're missing fine, your tour. But the ones that sort of turn up 20 minutes into a match, that they can just get in the bin. So let's go for that.
Okay. B?
I mean, again, they're all quite good points, and I quite like a few of them, but maybe I'd go with the stadiums one.
Okay. Which means, Emily, you can either force it to a tie break, in which case me will probably have to come in and pick my own one from there, or you could go with one of the 3 that's already been mentioned. What do you reckon?
I had already decided before people had spoken, so I am going to go for people being late and having to stand up about 50 times. Annoying.
Okay. Well, there we go. The world has spoken. Late arrivers is indeed the winner. And I think in big stadiums, that is the big thing. It's not so bad when you're in the lower down stadiums. They're not too bad. You can get around quite easily. But yeah, when you're in a packed out Old Trafford or I was going to say packed out Etihad, but that never happens. It's a little bit harder to. It's been a long time since I've thrown that sort of joke in anywhere. Yeah, it can be a bit more annoying, and it's more when they want to go to the toilet. Actually, for me, it's not even just the lateness. I think just the fact that they decide midway through to go, I need the toilet now. That's what our time's for, mate. We're playing it. So yeah, interesting. That one has been chosen. So there you are. That is what you have chosen to put in there. Brilliant. I had a great night. It's been absolutely superb. Emily, thank you so much for joining us. It seems only right and fair for you to give a shout out as to where people could find you on TikTok, should you so wish.
At MLoyFC. Come for the banter.
I'm going to have to ask this because it has annoyed me for the entirety of the game. Your name is Emily, but it's Emloy. And God bless Emily Moxham. She has called you Emoli each time, giving me Austin Powers recall. Is there a reason why it's Emloy FC and not Emily?
Yes, I'm from Birmingham, and if you say Emily in a Brummie accent, it's pretty much Emloy. Yeah.
Right. I'm there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You wish you'd never asked.
No. Listen, we know a lot of Brummies. I speak fluent, Mark Skinner. So there we are. Emloy quizzes on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. And apparently you can steal all the points off of Chelsea. B, where can people follow you?
You can find me on most platforms at Beatrice Rogers _.
Yeah, absolutely can. And well worth doing. Rob, anything interesting coming out from you over the next couple of weeks? Or should people just ignore you for a bit until you come back again? You're muted, mate. You're muted. Nobody can hear you.
I mean, there you go. Nothing actually in the pipeline for a little bit of time at this moment in time. A quiet period. So watch this space.
Okay, there we go. Probably won't be too quiet during the Champions League matches, I would imagine. And Connor, where can people find you? It's been a pleasure to have you on the channel. It's been a while since we've seen you here.
I was trying to work it out. When was the last time I was on this side of the channels? It would have been months ago.
Definitely 2024, it feels like.
It's been at least 5-6 months. I don't think it's been this season.
I'm pretty sure it was October 2024 you were on for something. Because I think I tuned in. I don't think I was on, but I think I tuned in because you said you said something about it. Yes. But, yeah, you and Alina, I think.
Yeah. Oh, Liberty.
Oh, no, not Alina. It would have been Liberty, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, no, I mean, my at's there, but no, all for United WFC, of course, if you want like your United stuff as well. And there's 2 player interviews on there, which I know obviously it's United players, but, speaking from a player's point of view, Jade Riviere and Lucy Newell, who's obviously coming through the ranks with England, and obviously she's currently on loan at Blackburn Rovers as well. Two different kind of interviews, but 2 very, very good ones, if I have to say so myself. Really enjoyed doing both of those. They're both on all for United WFC. You can go and check them out as well.
Just while we're here, actually, can I ask B, do you eat burgers with your hands or with a knife and fork?
With my hands? Why?
Of course you do.
That's absolutely fine. No, sorry. There's a certain person in this chat who will not be named.
As well, no?
Yeah, Emily, do you eat burgers with hands or knife and fork?
Of course you do.
I mean,
With my hands.
Exactly. As proper sport aficionados, I'm just assuming that this right. There's a certain person in the chat who eats with a knife and fork, and it's. I've proposed, at the end of the season, there just needs to be a show of all just coming in and roasting Connor for doing it. Certainly, Connor, I've already got special guests lined up that have said they'd come and do it. So.
Honestly, and you think with these player interviews, they're quite serious. They're quite. You best believe I asked both players that question as well. So you'll have to tune in to find out their answers because they were quite. Jade was brilliant. So yeah, you'll have to tune in to watch both. Because I'm going to ask any player I ever interview that question now. And see, I will find one. I'll find a player that agrees with me one day.
I'm not convinced you will.
I don't know. It's catching on. Like I said, I know about like 3 people. Like out of everyone I know.
But look how many people you know.
Yeah,
as a percentage, that's pretty low.
Honestly, do you know the one reaction? I really don't want to go massively off topic, but the one reaction to the Jade interview that people have taken, obviously, one is how well spoken she is because she is, and the second one is her reaction to when because she asked me how I eat a boat, because she flips the question back to me, and I then have to explain it, and her face. when I explained it, she's always just like, "What on earth have I agreed to coming on here?" So that's two things that people have picked up on from that. So yeah, you'll have to go, watch that to find out. It's quite funny.
Well, there you go. Rob went there. I was going to let that one slide, but there we go. Emily's put on here. Thank you for another amazing show, guys and girls. You really lifted my spirits and given me a much needed smile. We're very pleased that we're able to do that. We'll be back next week, I am sure, probably looking back over the international break and seeing where we are with another one of those lovely little 7-day reviews. Thanks again to everybody that's joined us. Slightly longer show than normal, but so bloody enjoyable. Really, really good. 3 things into Room 101. Club shops. Sort your life out. Be a bit more equal. Overbearing stewards, get in the bin. And speaking of which, could that possibly be a sanitary bin? I hope so, because there should be more of those. Cheers all. See you next time.